Joshua's been a lot of fun to have on staff. He's added a lot.
Team player, wants to contribute.
Sometimes contributes
in new ways.
which is good.
It's great.
Which is good.
It is great.
Did you guys know that some cats are allergic to humans?
Really?
Well, that's cool. I mean, weird, but cool.
You know, if these guys like fun facts, they better be ready.
I mean, he loves fun facts.
He does.
And most of the time, they're really fun. But he's got fun facts all the time.
All the time.
Hey, Manna, did you know that the inventor of a Pringles can is also buried in one?
Well, even though you're fed up, you gotta keep your head up.
Hey, John!
You have to stop doing that. Oh,
Did you know that high heels were originally worn by men?
I did not know that, but stay far from timid, and only make moves when your heart is in it, and live the phrase "sky's the limit." Don't tell him, but we've just been responding with rap lyrics. Notorious B.I.G.
Tupac.
Welcome to our newest segment called Middle School Matchup, where we find out how often I can match up with a middle schooler. Today's middle schooler, Emma Kennedy. Emma, say hello.
Hello.
The middle schooler joining me today is Noah Mabe.
Hey.
Is that it? Yeah. Okay. That was a great hello. Look at me. Great hello.
I'm pretty good at hellos.
Top 5 hello I've ever seen.
Top
So,
3.
Would you rather have no elbows or no knees? And believe me, I cannot wait to hear your explanation of this one.
Elbows. I would rather have no elbows.
Okay.
No elbows, actually.
You would rather have no elbows.
Yeah.
Please tell me how you would take a drink with no elbows. And please demonstrate.
Get a cup out of your refrigerator
Yeah.
and you put it down,
Yeah.
and then you get the milk and pour it in.
You're right.
But how are you gonna drink it? So you gotta get the straw, put
Yeah.
it in and then you gotta act like a zombie type
Yeah,
figure thing,
sure.
and drink, and then
I can learn. I
Okay.
can learn.
Hey, look, we're definitely on the same page here because
Yeah, we
I
are.
said you want to have the no elbows. You keep the knees so that you can enjoy a chair, so you can run.
and
I actually think you could
Yeah.
load the dishwasher without elbows, but we won't tell your mom I said that. Would you rather, I already know the answer to this one. Would you rather always have to sing instead of speak, or dance everywhere you went? Emma, say the same thing as me because I know you will.
Sing.
dance. It'd flat out be embarrassing if you had to go around and sing.
Dance.
Dance, sing? I should ask you.
Singing, you get compliments.
Not if you're bad.
You get opportunities to go to great places for dancing.
You're
What
so-
if you have no rhythm?
So-
Like my father.
What if you're tone deaf, like your father also? Sorry, Russell.
Oh yeah,
Like a
you won't
party.
look like a freak at home.
I will not look like a freak pop locking and dropping it.
People
Does this
will-
look like a freak to you? Hey.
That looks like 2015 to me.
I mean, well, it does. That is old. You know what? You got me there.
I did get you
Would
there.
I rather do that again, or would I rather take that move back and you never saw it and roasted me live on camera? That's the one I pick. This has been Middle School Matchup with Emma Kennedy.
That's me.
My friend, Noah Mabe.
Bye. What? I didn't know.
No, it was great. What's up, y'all? Welcome into part 4 of our series Stretch. We're gonna end things today, but before we jump into that, you guys know, some of you know, I enjoy a good card trick, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna perform one for you right now. So I want you to think of any card in the deck, any one of 52. You got it? You don't have to tell anybody, but just have it. Okay, I'm just gonna make it appear. Ready? I should have said, I'm not very good at card tricks, but I have a deep love for them. Like I enjoy card trick magic, and more often than not, I just fail at card tricks, which is part of the fun for some of you. Look, if I fail at a card trick, does that matter? Maybe in the moment I can be embarrassed, and I do have a story about that, but I mean, does that have a long-term No, it doesn't matter. I can fail at a card trick and I can just try it again, and maybe for a moment I'm embarrassed, but there's really no long-term impact. Now, more importantly, oftentimes I tend to fail at my spiritual life far more often than I fail at performing a trick. And that's the thing that has a much longer impact. A lot of times we get confused or caught up or maybe even defeated by things that don't really have a long-term, it's just a moment. But then we fail at these things that can take, the rest of our lives in a healthier, better direction, and we don't take those failures as serious or maybe even too serious. Here's what I mean. When I was in high school, I wanted to read the Bible every single day. So I would give myself reminders. Like for a while, I would put my Bible on top of my alarm clock. When I turned it off in the morning, the Bible was there. When I went to turn it on at night, the Bible was there. Eventually, I just got really good at moving the Bible to the side and then not putting it back in its place or reading it. So then I just started putting it under my pillow, thinking, all right, well, if I get comfortable or first thing, boom, it's right there. Pretty soon, I just learned how to sleep with a book under my pillow. And then I would even take a dry erase marker and write notes to myself on my bathroom mirror. Anytime I went to the bathroom, I was reminded to read your Bible. It worked for a little while. But then I would, stay at a friend's house, or I would move the Bible. I would fail at that daily task of reading the Bible, and then those failures kind of began to pile up, and then pretty soon I was just like, well, it's Tuesday, I haven't read my Bible yet, so I'll just take the rest of the week off, reset on Sunday, start anew. And then by the time Sunday rolled around, man, I was already in a different place. See, a lot of times we can allow failures to stack up, and then we think, well, we're just finished, or maybe we're not good enough, or maybe this just isn't going to work out for us. Had I read that Bible regularly, I probably would have thought of 4 people that had some pretty notable failures, but they weren't finished. You probably have heard of these people too. There was a guy named Moses. Moses was a terrible public speaker. Moses even killed a guy. People forget that. Moses had some pretty notable failures in his life. There was a woman named Sarah who was a little bit older, and she was visited by God and said that she was going to have a child. She was going to become pregnant even at her old age. She literally laughed in God's face and then kind of went and did her own thing. Not great. There was a guy named David. David abused his power as king, seduced a woman, and then had her husband murdered by sending him to the front of the lines in battle. Yikes. And then there was Peter. We talk about Peter a lot. Peter was one of the disciples. Peter got punked by a little girl and then denied that he even knew who Jesus was. And Peter also cut a guy's ear off. These are some pretty notable failures by people that we consider heroes. But here's the important thing. Even throughout their failings, those failings did not mean they were finished. Because if you keep reading Moses' story, you know that he becomes in a close relationship with God, and God actually uses him to lead his people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. If you keep reading Sarah's story, you know that God forgave her disobedience and even gave her everything that she wanted. If you keep reading David's story, you'll know that, yes, those were pretty terrible failings, but like David was also known as a man after God's own heart. And he would do many great things. He would write many great psalms. And David would be highly thought of as a leader of the faith for centuries on. And then, of course, Peter, not only was Peter immediately forgiven by Jesus, but Peter became the rock and the foundation of which the church was built. I do wonder, had all these people just quit when they failed, would we even know their names? We've been reading in Romans chapter 12, written by Paul. Before we got to chapter 12, Paul had a message in chapter 7. So I won't spend some time, it's on the screen, but I want you to read it. It'd be a great read. And in there, Paul is super relatable. Okay, he's super relatable. And essentially, he says this: look, I have a deep love for God's law, but there is something within me that I know I should do right, but I can't seem to do it. And I know I should not do wrong, but I continue to do it anyway. And for me, that is super relatable, because there are things in my life that I know I should be doing and I choose not to. And there are things in my life that I know I should not be doing, but I'm cool with that anyway. Paul is speaking to the struggle that we all as humans have, that eventually we're going to fail, but it is not us necessarily, but that sin that is within us that we're always struggling with, always wrestling with, always fighting with, that just kind of overcomes and comes out through our actions. And that sin, very simply, is anything that separates us from God. So as we go back, big picture of this whole 4-week series about stretch and how can we grow our faith. You know, we talk about making commitments. We talk about starting new things. We talk about letting go of other things. But maybe it's the lessons from our failures that can have the greatest stretch and growth opportunity of our faith. Because we know that there are people that have failed, they were not finished, and God continued to use them for his glory. So I'm going to leave you with a couple things. Number one, before you fail, because if you haven't already, it's coming, okay? We can't escape that. Before you fail, number one, find a community. Find a community of people that can do two things: that can know you and love you, and that you can know them and love them. Build your life with those people that you can be honest with, you can be vulnerable with, you can be accountable to and accountable for. And see if your life doesn't immediately begin to improve. Because when we fail, it's easier when there's a community there to rally around us, to remind us that they know who we are and that we are loved. And number two, when you fail, fall on Jesus. Think back to that story of Peter, that he failed and then ultimately denied even knowing Jesus. See, there's something in us that just kind of defaults to this Jesusless part. That's really unfortunate. It's just like we fail, and also we're not good enough for the creator of the world and the savior of the world that came, that lived, that died, that said, actually, you are good enough and I want to be with you. When we fail, when we fall on hard times, let's remember that we have a God that loves us despite of all those things. And number three, when you fail, get back up. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I think you already know that when you fail, you are not finished. That the only way we could fail is simply to quit, to stay down and to tap out. Let's not be those people. Let's recognize a failure. Let's recognize a tough time or a hardship or whatever we're going through and say, all right, I'm going to try again. I'm going to try again, because there are people before me and there'll be people after me that failed just like I did. And God didn't give up on them, and he's not going to give up on those that are to come. And I don't think he's going to give up on me. That's the God we have. If If you want to stretch your faith, let's get back up.
God of Abraham, you're the God of covenant, faithful promises. Time and time again, you have proven you'll do just what you say. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast. And when my heart learns, when you speak a word, it will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. Oh, God, from age to age, though the earth may pass away, your word remains the same. Your history can prove there's nothing you can't do. You're faithful and true. Though the storms may come and the winds may blow, I'll remain steadfast. And when my heart learns, when you speak a word, will come to pass. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the setting same, I will praise your name. Great is your faithfulness to me. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. I put my faith in Jesus, my anchor to the ground, my hope and firm foundation. He'll never let me down. Great is your faithfulness to me. Great is your faithfulness to me. From the rising sun to the
Hey,
setting.
thank you so much for joining us over these last 4 weeks. We've talked about how we can stretch our faith by making a commitment, by starting something new, by letting go, and by learning from our failures. Because our failures don't mean we're finished. Let's be a people that continue to stretch our faith, to learn about ourselves and what God's got in store for us. Hey, we can't wait to hang out again soon, but until then, be well.
Great is your faithfulness to me.
Squirrels cause most of the power outages in the U.S.